We begin on January 26, 1994, as Frank Hartnett was escorting his 73-year-old mother, Sally, on a flight from Connecticut to her winter home in Florida.
We were walking down the concourse, and we had to keep stopping so she could catch her breath. So it's just very unusual for her. Never saw her do that before.
Hi.
I love my mother very much. Whatever she wants or whatever she needs, she can have it.
Hi there, how are you? Are you ready to get away from the cold weather up here? Good. Oh, that's
I had no feeling whatsoever that anything would go wrong.
Excuse me, watch your elbows.
My mother said, "Can I get a drink of water?"
Excuse me, ma'am. Can I have
Yes,
some
sir.
water?
You sure may.
She's feeling kind of warm.
She said, "I've just taken nitro. I need oxygen."
There you go, sir.
And as I handed her the cup, she dropped it. And she said, "I need oxygen." And that was the last thing she said.
Sir, is everything okay?
Jeanette McClarty was one of the flight attendants.
He told me that she had taken a nitro pill, which immediately alerted me to the fact that she obviously had some heart problem.
It just seemed impossible that she could have another heart attack. A year after having a quadruple bypass, you're 30,000 feet up in the air, and in your mind, you're trying to think, what the heck are we going to do now?
Senior flight attendant Judy Wild took charge of the situation.
Feeling better? Are you cool?
When I first heard that we had an ill passenger in the back and that we were starting oxygen,
Judy, this is her son.
I didn't think too much about it. This really occurs more than you would imagine.
Would you get some cool cloths for me? Ma'am, are you feeling any better?
But when I got in front of her and shook her by the shoulders and said, "Can you hear me?" I got no response.
Can you hear me?
And I thought, uh-oh, she's in trouble. I immediately started trying to find a pulse. I did not find
Can you hear
one.
me? Page for Dr. Jeanette.
I knew if I didn't have someone to help me, that the other flight attendants and I would have to do the best that we could do.
When we continue,
You're totally, absolutely helpless. The plane is just so, it got smaller and smaller and smaller. You just didn't know, there was nowhere to go. I mean, you're stuck.
When Frank Hartnett's 73-year-old mother, Sally, suffered a cardiac arrest during a flight to Florida, the only hope for her survival was in the hands of the people who happened to be on board.
May I have your attention, please? If there is a doctor, nurse, or paramedic on board, will you please contact your flight attendant? Thank you.
This guy came out of nowhere,
I'm a doctor.
and if he didn't come from heaven, nobody did.
I'm getting no response here. I can't find a pulse.
Excuse me.
Dr. Tom Candell, an internist, happened to be on the flight.
She was pale and clammy. She was not breathing on her own, and she had no pulse. This passenger was clinically dead.
We told the captain that he had to land the airplane.
But the plane was 30 minutes from the nearest airport.
I was very frightened to see him start CPR on her. I was very afraid she was going to die. My father had died about 2 years ago, and I kept thinking, I really don't want to go through this again. It's too soon.
1 and 2 and 3 and
At the end, about 10 minutes, for the first time, I thought I had a pulse.
There's a little pulse. Have you got a stethoscope or blood pressure cuff or anything?
I do. I'll
Unfortunately, after that first attempt, we lost the pulse, and we had to resume the CPR.
He knew that her chances were not as good after we had lost her after the first comeback.
And I remember whispering into Judy Wild's ear, "I think we're going to lose her. I don't think she's going to make it."
New York Center, Delta 584. We are declaring a medical emergency at this time. We'd like to divert to Philadelphia.
It had been nearly 20 minutes since Sally's cardiac arrest.
I'm getting a slight pulse.
We got a second pulse, and I listened closely. Sure enough, there was a heartbeat going on, but she was not breathing on her own.
She's arrhythmic. I think we're losing her again.
It was frustrating to see that she wasn't responding. even in the best of hands, CPR could only give between 20 to 30% of the actual cardiac output. Even more frustrating was realizing that the man that was standing over my shoulder and looking down was the son of this passenger, and he was witnessing the demise of his own mother.
1 and 2 and 3.
You're totally, absolutely helpless. The plane is just so, it got smaller and smaller and smaller. You just didn't know, there was nowhere to go. Man, you're stuck. You're right there.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
We kept working on the patient, probably another 5 to 10 minutes, and as we were coming into Philadelphia, the patient all of a sudden, for the first spontaneous time, took a deep breath on her own.
2 and 3. Is she moaning?
I'm hearing her. We're getting her back.
I thought she's going to make it if we can just get on the ground and let the paramedics do what they can do for her. Once we landed, the paramedics came on board quickly.
And as he was sticking in the angiocath to start the IV, Sally grunted, and I said, "Do you feel that, Sally? Do you feel the pain?" And Sally shook her head. And I said, "Sally, you're feeling the pain because you're alive."
Four months have passed since the incident.
I can feel my strength returning day by day, but a very slow process.
They determined that my mother has an extreme allergic reaction to nitro. So when she put the pill in her mouth in the plane, it bottomed her blood pressure out so far that it killed her.
It was the first time that I had ever taken nitroglycerin.
It would be foolish for one to say, don't take nitroglycerin because it might have a side effect. But when people take any drug, whether it be nitroglycerin or aspirins or any combination of drugs, people should be cautious.
Recently, Sally Hartnett finally got the chance to meet Dr. Kandel.
Good to see you.
Oh, thank God for you. I thank God every day for Dr. Kandel.
Oh, it's great. You're talking to me. That's better than ever. That's an improvement.
Life is very fragile, and it's precious, and you guard it as best you can. And when you can't take care of yourself any longer, and somebody comes to assist you, that's something that you never forget. He was my guardian angel, I'll tell you that. Thank you so much for saving me. God bless you.
Thank you.
There is no way to describe how grateful you can be to somebody who saved your mother. I am ecstatic that she's okay. But I won't take her on any more trips, anywhere. And I said to the doctor, you are the new travel agent, because I am not going to take her anywhere. I've had enough. Hit your hand, my friend.
I'm very thankful that Delta has a training program for a stewardess to teach them CPR.
I learned how to serve a Coke after I started flying, but I learned how to do first aid in training before I ever got on an airplane.
All right, let's go.
I want Sally to know that being a factor in bringing her back was a very gratifying feeling.
Cheers.
Not for me as a physician, but for me as a fellow human being. And I'm glad that she's there and she's able to give love to her family and receive love from her family.